Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story. Let's take this thing off of the field into the real world, away from the numbers,
Hello, how do you do? We are the boys in white and blue, and we are back for another episode of There's Still Time, the AFTN Soccer Show, broadcasting on CITR Radio 101.9 FM from the unceded Musqueam Territory at the University of beautiful British Columbia. I'm Michael McCall.
I'm Steve Pander.
I'm Zachary Adam Eisenhower.
And I'm Naveed Mashinchi.
And there's only one way to start the show off. Brian's on fire. Your defense is terrified. Oh, Brian's on fire. Na 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 na.
My favorite part of that, Michael, your rendition there is when you said, O'Brien's on
I
fire.
know. As soon as I said that, I thought, you're going to make a comment on that. Well, funnily enough, Andy O'Brien's name was mentioned several times on Twitter in conversations I was having last night, as people referred to Flo Jungwirth as the first kind of centre-back quality that we've had since Andy O'Brien way back in the day. But we'll come to all that. Yes, the Whitecaps, they won again. One loss now in 15, 2 losses in 18. It's a great run that they're on. Still not enough to get them into the playoff places in MLS West. We're going to cover all of that. We're going to talk about some of the fallout from it, some of the main talking points around the team just now, and then we're going to round things off with a little look about Canada. The World Cup qualifiers kick back in this week, so we're all looking forward to that. But of course, it's a weekend show, so that means it's the gift that keeps on giving. It's Steve Pander's box of tricks that he gave Zach and myself for Christmas. I think we're down to 8 packs left to open. 2011 MLS Upper Deck trading card pack. Let's just get straight to it.
You want me to go first?
Yep, I'll just get mine open here.
Speaking of, I can't remember if it was Andy O'Brien. I think it was Andy O'Brien who had an encounter with this individual. We were talking about him before the show, but I didn't tell you his name. It's fittingly the San Jose Earthquakes, Steven Lenhart.
Oh, the clown man. I'm going to start with the first card in my pack. Normally, if I get a really good one straight out the box, I put it right at the back and it's my big reveal. I'm just going all in now. It's David Beckham.
Oh, I have golden balls. And I have David Beckham too.
Hey!
My next one is a guy, at least I don't have this card. He's from the Goats. Blair Gavin. I don't remember him.
Oh, I have that card because I was like, never trust a guy with 2 first names. Now, this guy, he's very good with his money, I am sure. It's Michael Orozco Fiscal. His
I
policy
have
is
him.
very good.
I have him. Next card is new to me, but Michael, you have it. It's former Bundesliga player, striker Connor Casey.
I think I've got some doubles coming up here. I've got this or you've got this. RSL's Jameson Olave.
Yeah, I have that. This is going on my former my one-time Whitecaps page. You have it, this card, I believe. It's his MLS Super Draft pick card. It's Zach McMath.
Oh. Who I discovered some audio from his that I'd never used while he was here when we do our fun food and TV segments and stuff. So I need to wait for some point for him to come back to get those in. This is either a double for me or you've got it, but I think we might both have it. It's San Jose Earthquakes, Sam Cronin.
That would be, I have it. So I think we both have it.
Very apt to have a San Jose player.
Yep. Next one is, again, I can't remember if you have it or I have it or both of us have it, but it's former TFC player Julius James.
Well, I've got another San Jose player. It's Brandon McDonald.
Oh, yeah, I have him. My last card is a keeper. Former FC Dallas keeper and league veteran Kevin Hartman.
Oh, well, I've got a draft card as my last one from the University of North Carolina. That's one for the AEW fans there. The third overall pick in the 2011 WPS draft. She plays for Washington Freedom.
Oh, I might
Megan Klingenberg.
I'm not sure if I have that one or not. I'll have to check.
Yeah, that is our cards for this week. I really need to get mine put into my folder because they're all just sitting in a box down here and I keep forgetting about them until we do the show on a Sunday. We'll get to that soon. What we're going to get to now, though, is Whitecaps chat. So in part one, we're going to mainly look over the Whitecaps win over San Jose and the latest standings, where it leaves us, look ahead to the next game with Seattle, hear a little bit from Vanni Sartini and talk about Vanni Sartini himself. Now, before we get to the San Jose game, we're not going to delve into this in any great detail because it was a horribly bad game of football. It's one of the worst games of football I've seen all season. I have seen far better VMSL games, and I did in fact this weekend. A 0-0 draw, midweek, at Houston. A point is a point. There's not really a lot to take from the game. Steve, anything you want to say about the game?
No, it's a game where it's essentially, I feel like it's something they had to do. They had to play that way in order to get a result. And there were times when they kind of pushed, but it was really nothing to write home about. It was essentially a game that I think they figured that they needed to make sure they get a draw to make themselves ready for this weekend.
Now, Zach, you said to me when you got home, because you weren't able to watch live, should I watch the game? And I said, just watch the YouTube highlights. I didn't know if they could get 7 minutes. The Whitecaps one was just 4 minutes that they put up. Did you even watch the highlights in the end? And how did they fill 7 minutes?
I didn't actually watch the highlights, and I haven't watched the whole game, but I did put on and I did watch the first full 25 minutes of the game.
Oh,
and you weren't wrong. And it was a little bit sad because I watched it after watching Montreal, New England, which was a very exciting football match.
Yeah.
Whitecaps
are not a great main course sometimes, and that was one of those games. But I mean, Naveed, a point is a point.
Yeah.
We wanted 7 at the bare minimum from these 3 games. They've got that. That point was part of it. I mean, it does feel that they could probably have got 3 if they just pushed a bit. There was some weird team selections, but at the end, it has worked out. And I think Vanni did feel he needed to rest some guys and mix it up a little bit. I can't argue too much with an away point in Texas. We don't get a lot of those over the years.
Right. To be honest, I actually forgot about that game, actually, when you brought it up. And I actually didn't get a chance to watch it either, like Zach. And I watched the highlights. So yeah, I watched the highlights. Like, I don't even remember anything from the highlights. So
you know what? If you were to put a gun to my head just now and say, tell me 3 things from the game on Wednesday, I'd be dead because I can't honestly remember anything that happened.
Right. No, but like you said, I mean, 7 points out of those 3 games, I think they're huge. And I think the big ones are going to come up now next week with Seattle, and then
I mean, it's 3
will be crucial.
3 tough games coming up, which we'll get our points predictions from that in a little bit. Let's get to the third of the games from the last 8 days. So BC Place, Saturday night, fantastic 3-0 win for the Whitecaps over San Jose. The first half, it was a good performance. It was a strong performance. It was fairly even between the teams in a lot of regards, but the Caps did get that goal to put it 1-0 up. The stats at half-time, it was 7 shots to 6 in favour of the Caps, 3 on target to 2. San Jose had just shared possession. So I was like, feeling good about it. It was a good first half. Second half, though, Steve, I just felt was totally dominant, and the Whitecaps very, very deserved winners in that.
Yeah, it was complete, obviously opposite of what Houston. Even in the first half, I thought they were pretty good for their what they put into the game. Like essentially, it was a little bit of a touch and go. They wanted to make sure they had everything going into the half. They were a little careful, but that second half, you're right. They just poured it on, and it's something you don't typically see of Whitecaps teams, where they see an injured somebody like kind of an injured animal on the side of the road and put it back and put it away for its own good.
I mean, Naveed, it was a very comfortable win in the end, and probably the best performance of the season, and I think the best all-round performance as well, from front to back.
Exactly. I think I mentioned a couple show. I think it was a show when MDS got sacked. Like, I couldn't think of a game under MDS where we played full 90 minutes, where we dominated. It was a great performance, to be honest. And I'm excited about the way how Vanni Sartini really had an impact so far on.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think a lot of folk expected some of the changes that he does. And I think we'll talk a little bit about Vanni in a sec, but I like how he's not afraid to mix things up.
Right.
And just try the unexpected. Now, whether that could work for a whole season, I don't know. But you're kind of playing with house money almost, because, I mean, he might think, well, I'm not going to probably get the job at the end of the season, although we'll come to that in a sec as well. But, I mean, he's like just rolling the dice. I don't know why I've gone down the gambling theme for this analogy, but he is rolling the dice, and it's paying off, and he's not afraid to mix things up. He's not afraid to make changes. He's not afraid to take a risk, and I think that is something that MDS, he was very cautious.
Well, I can tell you, like, it's a good analogy, because he kind of, like, I used to work in a casino. He looks like some of those guys that are there late at night, like with their sleeves rolled up and trying to get their money back or something like that. So he kind of has that kind of vibe to him.
Yeah, I get what you mean, actually. Now, Zach, this was the third straight game with a 3-4-2-1. There was 6 changes from that Houston game. So, I mean, the game plan was clear, that Houston was try and get something from it, and if you can come away with a win, great. But if you get the draw, that is a good thing. Now, the 3-4-2-1 is not really a formation. Well, we've not seen it here very often.
Hang on. I think you mean 3-4-1-2,
right?
Oh,
1-2. Yeah.
Sorry, it was for in this case. Yeah,
we have a number 10 now.
Yeah, we had been 3-4-2-1, but the last couple of games he's gone for 3-4-1-2.
As they try and get more creativity out of their number 10, right?
He's wanting to see a bit more from Ryan, and I think it is working, because it's giving him more channels and more outlets. But those formations aren't really something that you see a lot of. I like it. It's working.
Yeah, I think they've hit on something that is working for them. I think one of the things when I reflect on Saturday's game, and ultimately the ease with which they strolled past San Jose, a very limitedly only 2 changes in the San Jose starting 11.
Yeah, that was a surprise as well, and a mistake.
But in retrospect, and I know hindsight is 2020, it really does make Houston feel like a missed opportunity, because I felt that the starting 11 in Houston was just really weird. Like, it just, I mean,
well, I was going to say in general, a lot of these starting 11s are really weird. And I don't know if it was last show or the show before, I mentioned, if it's confusing us, it's clearly going to confuse your opposition, because they must be like, I've no idea what's coming on the pitch.
Right.
Where they're even going to line up on the pitch, and then it's working.
I just want to go back to Zach's thing. The thing is, Zach, though, if they had done something different where they went for it in Houston, maybe they don't get this result in San Jose.
Yeah.
So you could say that, but I kind of believe that going full out in Houston would have definitely shredded them, and they wouldn't have had that same
But
energy. In this
I,
game.
I don't. I hear what you're saying, Steve, but I would disagree for two reasons. One is I think for the most part, I think Almeida played his better team on Wednesday and only made a couple changes. So even let's say nothing changed for San Jose and Vancouver got a result in Houston, I think they would have been playing the weaker version of San Jose, and would have done their own rotation, and I think could have still beat them based on.
Yeah, it might not have been a 3-0, but
No, but it would have been. But I just think again, this is retrospect. I think Saturday night was great. Was great for the club. Was great for the players. It's great for the like an improvement in the standings, obviously, in the playoff push. I think,
and
it's
as
very,
I
very
keep
positive.
saying, you send the fans home happy.
Oh, totally.
And it's like that right now, with the way that the attendances is. I mean, it's key. Last night it was 12,069, which was nice, Steve, and it is growing. And there's a buzz about the team, and there's a bit of a feel-good factor about the team, and it has felt a long time since we had that. I mean, let's get into the game quickly. I don't want to dwell tons on the game because we've got so much to talk about in the show tonight. But in the first half, it was a strong first half performance. They came out of the gate strong. Ryan Gauld had a great chance 5 minutes in that he just couldn't quite bring down and get a proper shot off, but kind of showed the danger that they were going to be. Christian Dahomey had a shot that went wide, and then 26th minute, that rarity. A first half goal from the Whitecaps this season. And it came from Gauld having a shot very similar to the one they had 5 minutes in. Probably about, 10 yards out of goal. It's saved. The rebound falls to White. And as we've said so many times, Naveed, this season, right place, right time, pokes it away.
Yeah, no, I think Owusu got the ball. That was pretty nice how he got the ball in
Yes, that
midfield.
was a good
And then
tackle.
he played a great forward ball, breaking the lines. And I like that one touch from Brian White actually into Ryan Gauld. I think that
Yeah.
was a great ball.
Because it was a 2-on-1 at that
Right,
point.
so
And
that
it's
was-
like you're thinking, where's the San Jose defence? Which wouldn't be the first time we would say that on Saturday evening.
No, that was a great ball, one touch into Ryan Gauld. And then obviously, like you say, you proper number 9 finish, right place, right time. He knows where to be for some odd reason.
That's
The-
the
the
thing.
He just
The nomenclature for our show is proper place, proper
all
time.
right.
That is the other true aspect of that, because it is a case that it's
You can't
something that
teach
we've
that.
not had.
You
No,
can't teach that,
no, and we've not had it here. We've brought so
Right.
many strikers, and even Cavallini, and we'll talk about Cava versus White in the next part. But Cava, MDS said, "I want Cava in the 6-yard box where he is for Canada, where he's successful for Canada." And for whatever reason, he doesn't do that. Brian White in the 6-yard box, 9 goals now for the season. Not all of them from within the 6-yard box, but there or thereabouts. I mean, 6 minutes after his goal, he had another chance. He just got nudged off the ball after bringing the ball down well and just couldn't get his proper shot off. But he screams to be a striker. And you have been around a lot yourself, Naveed, and all your levels of playing, and when you've worked for the Whitecaps, confidence is huge for strikers.
Huge.
You're on a run, you feel everything's going your way. You feel, okay, that didn't come off. Next time it is going to come off. And Fede Montero is a guy like that as
Exactly.
well.
Right.
Like,
right.
get him on a run, and streaky is how we've described him in the
Exactly.
past. Brian White's on a great streak just now, and
Seems like a breakout season for him.
it
kinda.
does.
Yeah.
And I genuinely, and I put this to Vanni afterwards, I don't even feel we've seen the best of him yet, or the best of what he can be, which is
No.
very exciting.
That's true.
But I mean, it's 1-0 at half time. Then, I mean, second half after that, the Whitecaps took over. 5 minutes into the second half, Dahomey shot just over. I felt Christian had been pretty quiet up to that point in the game. First half, and I don't know how well this came across on the TV or whatever, he had acres of room on the left-hand side of the pitch. He was basically hugging that left touchline, but no one was finding him. The ball just wasn't coming over there. But he had that chance at the start of the second. Then San Jose, they were still in it at this point because they're only one goal down. And then Kikinovic put a ball across the box and there was just no takers for it in the 53rd minute. That was a key moment because if San Jose had tied it up there, what happened at the end, next in the game, I don't know how the game would have gone. But the Whitecaps survived that and kind of just went on from that. But I want to talk about a minute in the 55th minute. There was a stramash, as we say in Scotland, in the box. Players coming together for very little, really. And then Florian Jungwirth straight in there, showing he's not an earthquake anymore. Not afraid to say, I don't care if you used to be my teammate. I know how dirty you guys are. And was just, he got booked for it in the process as well. You love to see it, Naveed.
Oh, brilliant. I mean, he's a true Whitecap now, that's for sure. He is an interesting character, that's for sure. I loved his Instagram post afterwards. After the game, that was brilliant. That really truly shows what he's all about, and it's just quality.
He's a leader on the pitch,
100%.
in the locker room, and off the pitch, chatting to him. He's just an absolute delight. But it was great to see that, Zach, because I mean, it could have been just him going, look, I just want to show you that I'm not a San Jose guy just now. But at the same time as well, it's showing them, look, I know what you're about, and I'm not putting up for that.
Yeah, it's nice to see him set the record straight that way. In the same way, it was nice to hear him set the record straight in the interview I had with him that although he played for 1859, he actually is a Bayern supporter.
Yeah.
So
I thought that would have pleased you.
Yeah, very much so. But no, yeah, I mean, I got a text right away. I think a couple texts being like, I really like Flo Youngwirth.
Yeah, I tweeted out about him, and it's like Twitter just went crazy with folk. That and my tweet about Cava later, which will come out. But we're going to talk about both those guys more detail in the next part. But then, 58th minute, White had a chance to make it 2-0. It was well saved, but then a minute later, it's 2-0.
And that came from some good pressing from the Whitecaps.
Which we've seen a lot of.
Good pressing, and the ball won by Bruno Gaspar,
who's starting to come onto his game a little bit. I know it's been a while. It's going to make for some interesting decisions that come the end of the season.
I still think they're not going to bring him back, but I just wanted to mention it because there hasn't been a lot of positives to mention from him. And that was one moment that kind of stood out.
But it was 2-0, 59th minute, White header, Caicedo with the outswinger from the free kick, and White jumps unchallenged with 3 San Jose players around him. Now, this is the kind of goal the Whitecaps have given up time and time again, and we've crucified them for. And it was a theme this weekend at times with goals like that, and in this game as well. It was horrible defending.
Yeah, I was actually thinking that it felt like a training pitch because it felt like they were playing against Whitecap defenders.
Yeah,
the way they were letting those goals in. But the thing is, I don't think San Jose was playing zonal, but they weren't able to even jump for the balls. It seemed like Brian White, who we've already mentioned before, is not that athletic of a striker, was able to outjump some of these strikers. Defenders. And it was just amazing to see that. So I don't know what San Jose was doing. I think they're really going to regret the Youngwirth getting rid of him.
Also, you see Shea Salinas marking was part of that, and he's not known for being a great header.
He was involved in marking him on both plays, kind of thing. Or Nathan was around too, but
Nathan didn't have a good night. I mean, it's the worst performance a BC plays from a Nathan for I don't know how long, but I told her I'd get that joke in. So, I mean, it was a great delivery though, Naveed, from Caicedo. What a free kick, because with the two guys over it's like, is Gold going to send it in? Is Caicedo going to? And it was pinpoint right on White's head.
Quality ball in, and I mean, even better finish. I think he literally top corner from his short distance. Quality.
And this is important. It's a small thing, but I think it's really important for a team, any football club, to be able to have two people, one of either foot, standing over a dead ball situation, just to make the other team have something to think about.
Yeah.
And obviously, Ryan Gold is the most talented player on the Whitecaps, and so everyone expects him to take his virtually all of the dead ball situations, and that's what I think helped them even White have that moment of advantage was because Gold was there, and everyone kind of, I think, oh yeah, he's going to take it, and Caicedo just steps in and puts in this normal, just little simple cross, and White nods it home.
And he's been good all season with his delivery. I was thinking that actually after the third goal, because obviously Gold's corner was perfect, and it's like, man, because when it first came in, my thought was, oh, it's great to have a guy that takes these pretty accurate and deadly corners. And I thought, actually, well, Caicedo's been doing that as well. We've got two really good set-piece delivery artists, as Zach says.
And then
Homey a little bit too.
And then you also have Baldissimo, who did it for a while too. He's been on the bench for a bit, but he's very capable of doing something like that as well.
So, I mean, that third goal, 73rd minute, a second White header on the night, a second header where he jumps up with 3 San Jose defenders around him and isn't challenged for it. I mean, yeah, you get burned once, you don't let it happen a second time. But that ball from Gold, there was only one player it was going to, which was White, from a Whitecaps perspective. When you've got 3 guys, and Almeida talked about it afterwards, he was disappointed because they've been strong defending set pieces all season. For whatever reason, on Saturday night, it just went to pot.
Yeah, I mean, looking back at this overall performance, even just from San Jose, I was kind of disappointed because, I mean, being close in Sacramento.
Yeah, your local team,
right? I kind of been watching a few of the San Jose games. But it kind of, to be honest, I feel like San Jose is not a team that likes coming to Vancouver for some reason. I remember under Robo, was it the semifinal game, 5-0, or quarterfinal, or whatever playoff game that was?
That flashed into my mind last night because I thought, are we going to get another 5-0?
Exactly. At some point, I was like, oh, this flashbacks. But yeah.
So that hat trick from Brian White, not only was it his first MLS senior hat trick, it was also the first Whitecaps hat trick in over 3 years. 2018 May against New England, Christian Teixeira got the hat trick that day. But I mean, overall, it was a good result for the Whitecaps and a really good performance, and that's all you can ask for just now. That's been our thoughts on the game. Let's just play a little bit of post-game audio just from head coach Vanni Sartini, just with his thoughts on the match and hat-trick hero Brian White. Congratulations on another win and a very strong first half performance. Dominant second half performance, another clean sheet, and really a game that you had to win, and you did so in some style. Just what's your thoughts on the whole affair?
We did very well. We'll have to watch the game again, but I think the approach and a lot of things that we worked on in the previous week and in this week went very well. The pressure was fantastic. The movement of the midfielders when we had the ball, the central defenders when they everyone did, to be honest, what they were supposed to do to the T, like you say here, guys. And so I would say congratulations to the player because they did fantastically today.
And obviously we have to talk about Brian White, a hat-trick today, his first career hat-trick, 9th goal as a Whitecap. And it still doesn't feel that we've probably seen the best of him yet. Do you feel there's still a lot more in his tank and a lot more that he can give?
He's a good player and he is there when I want to praise him because I want to praise the team in the sense that he does what he's supposed to do for the team, and the team helps him to be in the right position. He is very good when we need to press. He's I would say is it's a good spot today for the because he's a very selfless player, and being selfless also it helps you to be even the protagonist sometimes, because that's the key for us to try to win more games, thinking about as a we and not as a group of eyes, and he is very good at that.
He's the gaffer. You can't try it on with him. He's the gaffer. Even when he's on a limb. He's the gaffer. When his back's against the wall. Has the answer to it all. He's the gaffer.
Vanni Sartini there, just with his thoughts on the game, and then goal-scoring hat-trick hero Brian White. I just want to have a little bit of a chat about Vanni at this stage in the show, because since he's come in, he's been in charge for 7 matches. The team's only given up 4 goals. They've got 3 straight clean sheets. We'll talk a bit about the defence in the next part, but we touched on it straight off the top. What he's brought to this team has been... I don't even know if I can... I mean, what word would you use to describe what he's brought to this team?
The sense that I'm getting, I think the guys are really buying into whatever he's asking from them. That's one thing that pops out to me. I don't know. I feel like they're all really buying into what he's asking them to do.
Like, I don't know if he's got it seems like it's a similar type, and maybe the formation's a little different, but I think it's maybe a little bit of a freshness of a voice.
Mm-hmm.
I do feel, and I know I'll probably get crucified for thinking this, but I just feel that if the Whitecaps came back in July when the other 2 Canadian teams came in, I think this is a totally different story. I think they would have got everything rolling a little bit better. I think some of those results I think they lost 4-1 to RSL. I think that would have been a different result. I think the draw against Houston in RSL in Salt Lake, that would have been a different result. I think they would have won that game. I think it would have been a little bit more difference. I think they probably lost about 5 points not coming back.
No, I think you're right. You're spot on.
And I think Mark DeSanto still would have been the coach at that point.
Yeah.
I honestly do think that. I think that 1 month delay cost them big time.
Now,
I think Steve is right. I also think had they been able to get the Ryan Gold deal across the line earlier to coincide with that, I think like a June return or whatever, I think that, things would be playing out a lot differently. In terms of Vanni, Michael, I just want to say that I think it reminds me of the old song we used to sing together back in the day, Carefree. I think he, because he doesn't have the pressure of being fired over his head, he can do things that normal coaches in Vancouver and normal coaches in the MLS in general just can't do, whether it's changing formations, whether it's having maybe, divergent kind of starting lineups, in terms of squad selection.
There has been some odd selections, and there's been times I've seen the starting lineup, or I've been at training and I see what's coming for the next day, and I'm like, what?
But I'm sure there's something behind it. Whatever.
Well, yeah, it's working.
It's working. I mean,
1 defeat in 15, 2 defeats in 18. They're climbing the table, and this is a tough one. This goes back to Zach saying hindsight's a great thing, but I'll get a yes or no from all of you. We'll start with Steve. If MDS was the coach still, do you think we would be on this run quite as we are with these wins?
If you take away that Pacific game, and he's still the coach, I do think they still get it, because they were getting those results prior to that Pacific game. So I do think that they get the same results. I don't think there might have been a result here and there that might be different, but for the whole, I think the Bari would have been very similar in this, in the same kind of location. I think I do, and I hate to say anything negative about Sartini, but I do think he's dropped a couple points here and there because of the lineups he's had. Like Zach did mention the Houston game, but there's a couple of things even before that where I thought there was a better option out there to put
Yeah,
up there.
the Portland game at home. I
Yeah.
mean, that was a game that we should have taken something from as well. But
Yeah.
what do you think, Naveed? Do you think if MDS was still the coach, we would be still on the same run of results?
Yeah, I have to agree with Steve. Pretty much, I mean, he said it all. And it's actually, I mean, it sucks being a coach sometimes when you're coaching these games, these cup games with Pacific. You can only look bad in these games, to be honest. It's pretty unfortunate because, like Steve said, they won a great run. And I mean, even before you got sacked, what was it, 9 undefeated games, 8 or
10?
9,
Well,
10
yeah, it
or
was
whatever.
10
Yeah.
with, I think, 5 wins in that.
Yeah. So I think just to answer, yes.
And the thing is, Zach, Vanni mentioned after the game that he thought, or he's basically just moving forward from the foundations that Mark laid. So, I mean, what do you feel about that? Do you think if MDS was still the coach, we'd still be on this run?
Michael, I think there's going to be maybe an email or two, or definitely some people yelling at their devices.
Yes.
But because I know people were frustrated at some of MDS's, whether it was substitutions or starting 11s or rigidity around this, that, or the other. I think a significant amount of the fan base was very happy for the change, but I agree that I think they would be in a same or similar place. And like, I think both Naveed and Steve were hinting at, potentially even a little bit better of a place. I think the Pacific game was disappointing for everyone at the Vancouver Whitecaps, some more than others, I think. And I think that, I think that Mark wouldn't have been able to get the players to kick on and continue with the form that they had in the league.
The one thing I'll say, the word that you mentioned there, rigidity. MDS was far too rigid and maybe too loyal to some of his players.
I will agree with. That I think he needed to make a few more changes here and there. And the one thing about him is that I feel like he got frustrated with the form. He wasn't able to get that right formation.
Yeah.
And I think personally, and again, I hate to keep saying this, but lack of a number 10 really affected him in being able to find that real formation.
Absolutely.
And because he was handcuffed by a really weak midfield, which a number 10 can really improve if you get a very good one like we do it now. It will really improve what you have on the pitch. Have you seen Tybert play this well, or Usu,
no,
or
actually,
because they have confidence in the guy in front of them. They know they just need to get the ball in that direction, and he'll be able to do something with it.
Tybert gets a lot of stick from all quarters, but the last couple of games is the best that he has played in a long time, and looking dangerous going forward as well. With Mark, I don't think we would have seen him go 3 at the back. Now, that's not to say that we still wouldn't have got the results. I do wonder, though, whether he would have played Florian Jungwirth in the back, or whether Brian White would have had as many minutes up front. So, I mean, it's things we'll never know. I mean, we can just be happy with what Vanni's doing just now. Has he done enough to really put his hat in the ring to keep the job at the end of the season?
If he wants it, then maybe he should definitely be considered. But the only thing is you're going to get the same people saying again they're hiring within. It's basically, instead of Rennie to Robbo, it's going to be DeSantos to Sartini.
Exactly.
That's what everybody's going to say again.
He would have to get to the MLS semifinals of the Cup and or win it. Or
win Western Conference? Are you saying win the Western Conference?
Yeah,
that still wouldn't be enough for some people to be like, we want a name.
No, I'm just saying.
What's Frank Lampard doing?
I think for the majority though, Michael, I think, or like the common everyday person, I think if he went further than they've ever gone before, I think then he has a chance. I see that as being highly unlikely, but I think that's the only scenario under which he would be considered for more than what he's done this year.
Even if he makes the playoffs, probably not enough, huh?
If I'm him, this is my kind of backwards way of thinking. I would stay in a back office kind of job the way he does now. Wait for the next coach to fail and then go for it. And then he proves that, and he comes back again. He does well again. Then he shows that he's the right guy for a job while he's collecting a paycheck on the
I
side.
love Steve's optimism. Wait till the next coach to fail.
Right.
Because you know, it's probably something's going to go wrong, and they're going to find a reason to fire him.
There's probably some guy at FC Cincinnati sitting doing just this. He's like, the time we get on to coach 8, it's going to be my turn.
Oh boy.
But we
but-
talked.
The
No,
one
sorry,
one thing,
Steve.
sorry, I wanted to say something about DeSantos too, and I think this has to be brought up, and I'm not trying to defend the guy, but I feel like he spent more time coaching the team in the U.S. than he did in Canada,
Oh,
in
yeah.
Vancouver.
Yeah,
Like
probably.
I think it's like I think maybe a season and a bit he probably spent in the Vancouver, while most of the time they were located in the U.S. And that's not easy because he's coaching players who are not adjusted and maybe like you said before, away from some of the families didn't go there. They're away from the families and stuff like that. So he's probably juggling a ton of stuff that Sartini is not juggling at this point.
Well,
That's why
Brian
he's
White even said after the game that it was difficult for him at first going from New York to Salt Lake and having to deal with new surroundings and the altitude and everything, and then have to adjust for a second time by coming up to Vancouver. And that's an American going from one place to another, and he found it difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what Mark DeSantis went through as a coach in 2020 and 2021, I think
Yeah.
is crazy. I mean, look at the rest of the coaches in Canada. What happened with Greg Vanni? What happened with Thierry Henry? Neither of them said, "Yeah, I'll sign up for another year of like last year, or a partial year of like what last year was like."
And Henri cited it
Yes,
straight out. He said, "Look,
And
this is not great for my family." And
and I'm pretty sure Vanni had similar reasons.
so we mentioned on last week's show that Vanni had been excitedly telling his cat Frida all about the victory last weekend. What was he going to tell her this weekend? Our good friend Har wanted to find out. Here's what Vanni told us.
First of all, I'm gonna come back and give her some treat because I'm trying to win her love with giving some treat because she's clearly more in love with my wife than with me. But I'll tell them tomorrow morning if she's gonna come close to me. I'm gonna tell them that we've been amazing and I'm a really proud daddy of a cat today because my team went fantastically.
So Frida the cat is going to be getting lots of treats this weekend as Vanni tries to win Frida's affections from his wife. That's always a good way to win the attention and affections of people. I wonder if he's actually given some of the Whitecaps players little treats, and that's maybe why they're playing better. Maybe he's bringing in some Italian goodies or something. Cannoli. Maybe he's like pumping them full of cannoli.
I was wondering which Italian food we were going to bring up.
But talking of sweet treats, I think we should find out, what is Vanni Sartini's favourite jam?
What's your favourite jam? Traffic jam. What's wrong with raspberry? What's wrong with plum? How's about a blob of elderberry on a scone? What's your favourite jam?
So you're at home, you decide to have some toast or a muffin or a crumpet or something, and you want to have some jam on it. What's your favourite jam?
A blackberry.
Oh, I don't think we've had anyone say blackberry before.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, again, because it has a kind of a bitter retro taste, and I don't like sweet things. So black marmella. In Italian we say marmellata di more. I love it. So to be honest, good. It's really good.
I was going to switch that one up and ask you what your favourite pasta was, but I thought we'll stick with jam because that's our segment, and I've got a song for that.
Yeah.
I haven't got
Cool.
a pasta song. If I get a pasta song, I'll ask you about pasta.
Yeah. Okay.
What's your favourite jam?
Who would have thought it? A left field answer there from Vanni Sartini. Blackberry. I think that's a left field jam. It's not one of your common choices that you'd find on the table, but yeah. Love me a bit of Vanni. He's great entertainment. Glad he's doing so well at the club. But as we mentioned, that victory on Saturday has not been enough to propel the Whitecaps into the playoff places. We'll have a quick look around the MLS West and the standings just now. There was 2 other games on Saturday involving Western teams, and both good results from a Whitecaps perspective in their playoff push. Austin 2, RSL 1. Huge result for the Caps. The new boys got their 7th win of their inaugural season, thanks to a double from DP Cecilio Dominguez. First one came in the 17th minute, second in the 55th minute. The Krylatch was released and pulled one back for RSL in the 64th. Austin thought they'd got a penalty, but it got waved away with video review. Big 2-1 win for Austin. RSL dropping points there. Fantastic stuff for the Whitecaps. As was the other result on Saturday, Dallas 0, Minnesota 0. It could have been even better if Dallas had got the win, but a lot of positives for the Whitecaps in this. Minnesota dropped 2 points. Emmanuel Reynoso got sent off in the last minute for Minnesota after overstretching and ended up stamping out on an ankle. It was unfortunate, but it's going to be a big blow for them in their next game. Ryan Hollingshead had a goal ruled out by VAR in the 60th minute. That could have been an even better one for the Whitecaps as well. But the teams that the Whitecaps are chasing, dropping points. It was a pretty darn good Saturday. Sunday was busy. I thought it was a little bit weird that we're coming up for a really busy international window where there's 3 games in 10 days and you've got a packed MLS schedule on a Sunday. Why would you not play so many of these games on a Saturday?
No, I don't know. I don't get it either. Maybe it's just the stadiums weren't available, or maybe
I don't know, maybe TV or...
Yeah, it's most likely TV. That's usually what rolls.
It was weird. Also, you would think they'd be really wanting to avoid Sunday games anyway. NFL, yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really weird. But some interesting results today. Kansas 4, Houston 2. Comfortable win for Johnny Russell's men. Temporarily had put SKC top of the table. Johnny Russell hit a brace in that one. Portland, Miami. Now, I had this game on in the background as I was working on some stuff. Portland came away with a 1-0 win. And there wasn't really much to write home about to the last few minutes in this one. The Timbers took the lead. Jaroslav Negoza in the 83rd minute. Miami then had a goal disallowed that Neville was not happy about and kicked one of the advertising hoardings. I think that win, though, basically assures really the Timbers a playoff spot now with their big run.
Yeah,
but
they would need to have a big collapse if they were to
the top 4 is pretty much.
Well, that's what we said about the Galaxy. Look where they are right now. But
yeah, that's true. I mean, the top 4 just now: Seattle first on 54 from 27, KC 52 from 28, and then you've got Colorado, and then you've got the Timbers on 48 and 46 respectively.
Yeah, I think they're both of those teams are safe. Like I said, it has to be a massive collapse in order for them. I think Portland's only got 6 games to go. So you split those wins, and they're basically in the playoffs for sure.
Yeah, but the LA Derby was one that was massive for the Whitecaps today, and I think a draw was probably going to be the ideal result from a Whitecaps perspective. An LAFC win wouldn't have been too bad. I wanted anything basically but the Galaxy to win, because the more teams you keep down that the Whitecaps can catch realistically, then you've given yourself a shot, because it's 3. You're basically looking at 3 spots that's up for grabs right now, and they're all very much up for grabs. So you want the Galaxy to continue that bad run. And it was 2 first-half goals in this one. LAFC took the lead through their young 18-year-old Senegalese standout Mamadou Fall. Great header, 11 minutes in. Another goal where he jumped with 3 defenders around him that did nothing. It was a weekend for it. But then the Galaxy tied it up with a lovely goal. Good sir! Got the goal 8 minutes later. And that was it. It wasn't the most exciting LA derby that we've seen. Chicho Rito seems to have just struggled after coming back from injury, and I think everyone thought, he's going to be the MVP and the Golden Boot winner and the Galaxy's going to be in the playoffs. But it kind of shows that without him firing, they are struggling.
Yeah, and LAFC is struggling after getting rid of some of their players that was part of their team, part of their core. It's just
bad timing.
Yeah, sometimes you don't want to mess. Even though it's for your betterment for your future, it definitely affects your current season.
Yeah, I mean, letting Mark Anthony Kaye go was one thing, but Diego Rossi was just so important to them. And I know, like MLS, it's always going to be a league where if big European leagues or teams come in, the players, they want to play there. Yeah. So it's hard to stand in their way. But from LAFC's point of view, you can't just let guys like that walk out the door and not like fully replace them. And by that point, it was too late to really replace them.
You kind of hope that they do like a New England thing where they're able to sell the player to keep them, like New England did with Buchanan. But obviously, I guess the team that wanted Rossi just really wanted him and they didn't want to wait.
I mean, that draw ended up meaning that Salt Lake are 5th with 39 points from 28 games. LA Galaxy, 39 now from 28 as well. They're 6th. Minnesota, 38 from 27. Whitecaps are 8th with 37 from 27. LAFC, 34 from 28. And you can see that San Jose's still hanging around, really, 33 from 28. Dallas, Houston, Austin, the 3 Texan teams, they're toast. But the last game of the weekend was an important one from a Whitecaps perspective as well, because it's also the Whitecaps' next opponents in Seattle Sounders. And it was a 3-0 win for Seattle in this one. It was an impressive performance. It was a workmanlike effort. Zach shaking his head. I think that's just because he's sad that the Sounders won so easily. 3 first-half goals. Christian Roldan, Jimmy Medranda, João Paulo. They were coasting by half-time. Now, the goals, I think the Whitecaps need to watch that game tape. And they need to be looking at, you cannot defend like this. You cannot give these guys free shots and goals from like 14 yards out. You've got to mark a lot better. So in many ways, it was a great game from a Whitecaps perspective, because I think they'll learn a lot of how not to play against the Sounders next weekend.
Yeah, and sometimes that's more important than like the result that comes. And even then, Seattle, you knew Seattle was going to pick it up because they're playing a team that's close to them in the standings.
Well, yeah, because this could all be about playoff positioning, home field advantage.
Because if it had gone the other way, they both would be tied at 51. And
Kansas City would have been Kansas City would be top and get the first round bye in the playoffs. I mean, this was a massive game from the Sounders, and they stepped it up. Colorado did get Lucas Esteves sent off just past the hour mark. It was not a sending off for me. I don't know if any of you guys have seen it. He never touched the guy. It was ridiculous, and there wasn't clear and obvious thing to overturn it apparently. But check that out if you haven't seen it, because I thought it was ridiculous. But yeah, the Sounders is next up for the Caps next Saturday. It's the rescheduled game because of the League's Cup. And it means that the Whitecaps are going to be missing 3 players for this. Obviously, it falls during the international break. So Max Crepeau, Lucas Cavallini, they're away with Canada. Javane Brown away with Jamaica, off his own accord, I believe, as well. The Sounders are going to be missing 5 players. The Roldan brothers are both away, one with El Salvador, one with the US. Nuhu's away with Cameroon, Arriaga's away with Ecuador, and thankfully, Raul Ruidiaz is away with Peru. Hopefully enjoying his marmalade sandwiches in the process.
So Cava's knock, injury, whatever, is not going to keep him away from being with Canada again?
We'll come to Canada in part 3, but he is away. Yes. But he is day-to-day, and they're going to manage the injury in that camp.
But was it the same injury? It wasn't, or was it like a...
Well, it was knee, so I don't know if it had kind of re-twinged it or what, but...
Yeah.
Again, shouldn't have come back when he came back. The last time these two teams met, it was a 2-0 draw in Seattle, June 26th, and that is basically what kick-started the Whitecaps' good run of form. They've only lost 2 games in their 18 since, or 17 since that, because that was one of the 18. So I think that was the point of the season where things turned around and it made us think, you know what, this team can be competitive, Steve.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they had a good shot at winning that game too, if I'm not mistaken, and late in the game. So it definitely gave them the confidence that they can compete with teams that are above them. And I think mentally, because prior to that they were losing a lot of games late in the thing. And this one was it was still dropping of points late, but it still showed that they were able to hang with the bigger boys. And I think after that, you're right. It just propelled them forward in more results.
And I don't think anyone expected them to get anything from that game. I know I didn't, Naveed, but I don't really expect them to get anything from this game coming up either. So maybe we can expect a draw.
Yeah, I mean, especially coming off this performance tonight, 3-0. But even though if they're missing all these players, I'm sure all these other players are stepping in. I mean, they want to take their opportunity and show Branchmetzer that they can get the job done as well. So it's going to be a tricky one. I think it's not going to be as easy as we would think, even though those guys are missing those 5 key players.
Yeah, I mean, that's what gives me a bit of hope, Zach.
Yeah.
The other thing as well, you've got your next 3 games. We've got Seattle, we've got Sporting Kansas City, so you've got the top 2 teams in the West. Then you've got the 4th best team in the West in Portland as well. Kansas City, the only home one in that. 3 tough games. Realistically, what do you see the Whitecaps getting? What would be a good points haul to get from this?
It's hard to see them getting more than 3. I mean, is that being too pessimistic?
No,
I feel like I've been optimistic lately.
Yeah.
I think if they win one of those 3 games, especially maybe against Portland, I think they can't be too disappointed. Well, I mean, they'll be disappointed, but you know what I mean.
I think 4 would be a good haul.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they can get 4. I think it's possible to get
Win-
4, but
I
wouldn't bet on it, but I would definitely think they can get 4 off this thing.
So you have to win your home game. That's a must win.
Yeah,
Well,
the Kansas City one, it's tough. Kansas City aren't great away from home. So, I mean, there's that element of it.
But they are probably the more talented team of the 3. And I'm basing it on the fact that who Seattle's going to be missing as well. So they will be the more talented lineup of the 3 that they're going to play. But it is the only one at home. So it's going to be odd. I guarantee it's going to be something weird where they draw in Seattle, lose to Kansas City, and then win in Portland.
Yeah.
It's going to be something
Do you know
odd.
what? I
That's the
wouldn't be
Whitecaps way.
surprised.
Exactly.
Michael, how many Aaron Brews are you going to share with Johnny? I mean, can't you?
Well, I mean, COVID restrictions, probably
Yeah.
only 6. Which is enough to get him absolutely jacked up for the game and probably then fall asleep in the second half. So, I mean, that'll help. I don't think I'll get a hug from him this time. He hugged me and then a pandemic hit. That's all I can say. If we get 4 from these 3 games, I think that's good. If we get more than 4, I'll be cock a hoop. If we only end up with 3 points, not the end of the world, depending how other results go, but could be costly. If we don't take anything from these 3 games, I think we're in a mess.
Yeah,
Well,
0
well,
Hard
points.
to recover.
Yeah.
It's going to be all depending on what goes on around us, because all the other teams could be messing up.
Well,
too
yeah,
at the same time.
everyone's going to be taking points off each other. Looking
Yeah.
at the form guide in MLS, for the last 8 matches, the Whitecaps have the 4th best record throughout MLS. Portland's first with 22 points from 8 games. New England second with 19 from their 8. Seattle third with 18 from their 8. And then the Whitecaps 4th, 17 from their last 8 games. Absolutely tremendous run of form that the team's on just now. I think that's what can maybe give us a bit of hope.
Yeah, thank God there's no CPL teams in MLS.
Yes, we're ignoring that result altogether.
Great shout. Great shout.
Also, that was more than 8 games ago, so technically it doesn't count for this. Or was it more than 8 games ago?
No, I think.
Oh,
it was,
no, it was the 8th game. So,
Yeah.
last thing I just want to mention in this part is there's another MLS coaching vacancy. Chicago's wiki has gone now. I'll be amazed if Almeida doesn't go at the end of the season as well. Maybe Bradley as well, and who knows if there's more to come. So there's going to be a lot of new additions. I don't know if anyone saw, there was an article in the MLS website. They were pitching some names that they thought could be coaching candidates. There was a lot of people saying Bob Bradley, possibly to TFC, but also possibly if he fancies a new challenge and takes on a new expansion team, maybe going to St. Louis. What do you think of that one?
It's all up in the air. I think that was the St. Louis would be. I think all these expansion teams are just going to want to spend money right off the bat. It might not be the most benefit thing for them, but they all want to do it because they want to be. They want to climb to the top right away.
Well, and they want to take advantage of the extra allocation money they have, and that's something that Bob has experience with. So, and he didn't reach the summit that Atlanta did, but he came pretty close. Like he did pretty well, and so maybe they'll look at his experience with that and ignore what's going to happen on the way down from the extra allocation money.
I'll just throw out a couple of the other names that were in this article. Antonio Conte, because he said he'd like to coach in MLS.
That's a big one. I can't see that.
They said TFC would be the most enticing spot.
Yeah, that's just them trying to, clickbait or whatever.
Yeah. They did link one person that they thought would be good for the Whitecaps, and it's a guy I don't know. Antonio Mohamed. He was with Monterrey. He's been unemployed since then. He was apparently on the short list for the Chivas Guadalajara job. He said he's looking for an intriguing project for his next post. Could that be the Whitecaps?
No, I'm not looking for somebody that's looking for a project. I'm looking for somebody that wants results.
All right. I think we had enough projects.
Yeah.
Anyway, that is it for our chat for this part. But we're going to delve in a little bit more with looking at the Whitecaps' defence and the attack next. And we're going to be chatting about all of that after this.
Hi, I'm Vanni Sartini, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
1, 2, 3, 4. So let me set the scene. It's 2 in the afternoon and 34 degrees. The Queensland harsh summer heat had me sweating buckets up and down my street. As there I spied the bloke, perched atop of his milk crate throne. He eyed me off as I approached, and then he said, I'm on smoko, so leave me alone. 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 I'm on smoko, so leave me alone.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio, 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's our new Artist of the Month here at AFTN for October. G'day everybody, we're going down under. It's the Chats from the Sunshine Coast in Queensland. That was their song Smoko, and that was the song that brought them to a lot of attention around the world. It's from their second EP from 2017, Get This In Ya. And a Smoko is an Australian institution. We would probably call it a tea break in the UK. I don't know, I guess you guys would call it a tea break here. But in Australia, they have smokos, where folk just go for a cigarette and a cup of tea and stuff. So they've got that song, Smoko. They're Artists of the Month. They're a 3-piece band. They've got some really good stuff. A lot of kind of old-style punk new wave sound. I've got some fun songs that I'm going to be bringing you for them for the rest of the month. Hope you enjoy it. We're going to talk a little bit more Whitecaps though in this part. And I want to chat, first of all, a little bit more about the Whitecaps' defence. Now, I mentioned last part that in Vanni's 7 games in charge, he's given up 4 goals, but there's been 3 straight clean sheets. Max Crepeau has moved to 332 minutes now without giving up a goal. this three at the back weirdness seems to be working. And Vanni said after the game, Steve, that a lot of the work and the success that the defence has had just now is because of the defensive work of the midfield and the forwards. He feels that the San Jose game was a masterclass for the three up top and the three at the back being used to their full potential and making life miserable for the opposition.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing about like putting pressure on teams as they're entering the final third and everything. And if you can do that, like we talked about it before, the goals that they've given up, even again, well with Vanni as the coach, but some of the goals they've given up, they've just given too much space to the opposition.
Yeah,
like
they've been well at closing down of late.
Yeah, and they have easy like crosses into the box, and when you get like a cross that's like basically on a silver platter, no defense in the world can like be able to predict where the ball's going to go all the time, and if it just hits the right spot, that attacker is just going to nail it in. And that's why you need to limit those numbers. Like a few chances here and there are going to get in, but even if the chances get in, if you apply pressure on them, they're not going to be able to deliver the ball as cleanly as you want when there's nothing on them. And if he knows about like he knows this kind of stuff, when there's somebody attacking you and coming right at you, it's not that easy to cross the ball in.
Right. 100% agree. I'm actually even surprised how, I mean, Dahome as a wing back on the left, I thought he's not.
Yeah, he struggled initially, but he's put a pretty good shift in the last couple of
he's coming to his own.
Mm-hmm.
What have you made of it, Zach?
Yeah, I think they've drastically improved defensively. It's hard not to separate it from some of the wacky stuff we talked about before in terms of squad selection, in particular, kind of playing four central midfielders across that four, with two of them sort of playing as wing backs, like we saw at one point with
Metcalf.
it was Metcalf on one side, and I can't remember who was on the other side, but maybe Russell. But to their credit, it's been effective. I think part of me like wonders how much longer it can last, though. Like, again, not to be overly critical of him, of some of these players, but because they have been getting results. But like 2 or 3, or what I think was 3 games ago, when Andy Rose stepped back into the team, I thought, oh no. Or actually, no, I thought, oh yeah, he needed to. There was an injury or something or whatever, and so I thought he had a great performance. But I was surprised that he's played the subsequent 2 or 3 games.
Well, it's kind of needs must though, because Godoy and Ranko's both injured.
Part of it is that. But again, also with like Jake,
Jake at a centre back ish
in a back three, as one of your back three. I never would have thought that would work in a million years, and it for the most part has. So
that's really surprised me. I think he's looked really good there. It's kind of given him a new lease of life, it feels.
But isn't it? Am I mistaken though? But isn't one of the, when you play back three, isn't one of the back three usually kind of a combo center back / fullback? Typically, in most of the
often, which of course Javane Brown would have been the ideal person.
He would
for that.
Exactly, and that's where it confuses me. Where they put Jake in the back three and they put Javane Brown on the wing. Maybe they just like his attacking more than Nowitzki, and that's why they do that.
Possibly, I don't know. But let's hear a little bit of audio just now from Vanni, just talking about the improvement in the defence these last few games.
4 goals against, 3 straight shutouts. Aside from being a genius and putting Jake Nerwinski at center back and a 3 at the back, what defensive adjustments have you made to contribute toward this run?
I think the way that we defend, it starts with the way that the strikers defend, and our strikers defend fantastically. So Brian White, today Tabor Caicedo and Ryan Gold, they did fantastically. And the wingback, they were always aggressive. And so that one allowed the back three to be always, like say, secure and aggressive. And, we discussed a lot of time. I firmly believe in zonal marking and trying to be always in numerical superiority on the side of the ball and not being cared so much about the men, and I think that today was a masterclass, to be honest, in the of our three up top and the four midfielders, because they made the life of the three defenders much easier, and the three defenders, they played very well.
Mark also talked about that, about the defense starting with the pressure of the strikers. But are there any adjustments there? Are they doing anything different, or is it just a continuation of what he had been building on?
I would say it's a continuation. I would say that it's like the message is still the same. Of course, it's there's a little adjustment in terms of tactics, but it's at the end, tactics is just the start of the starting position. I really firmly believe that the more player we put inside, the more difficult for the other team is to play through you. So that's the reason why we play with no wingers, but only wing back, and then basically the other 8 players that are their starting position inside in order to press outside. But any tactics doesn't work if there's no commitment by the players. And in the month, I don't know now, 5 weeks, 6 weeks that I've been in charge, the commitment of the players has been amazing, and so it's just credit to them.
So Vanni Sartini there, just chatting about the Whitecaps' defensive efforts. And, I mean, it is working, but at some stage, you're going to kind of be not as confusing to the opposition, because they're going to have a lot of game tape. They're going to know what you're doing. They're going to work out ways to play it no matter who ends up playing in there. I think a big thing for the defensive turnaround is Florian Ljungwirth. He's been immense. Let's just have a quick chat about it. I mean, his salary, he's on 567,000 and change. Eric Godoy's on 450, Ranko's on 445. Now, the reason I'm mentioning that and the salaries is, before Flo came here, I had been chatting with market training, we were just chatting away about stuff, and he said, I want to bring in an experienced fullback just for the rest of the season until we can get the signing that we want for next year. So I think Flo was meant to be a stopgap. I think he's a lot more than that now. I can't see why you would want to get rid of him.
No, yeah, I agree with that. And I think there are other center backs that you could probably unload at this point now. It gives you that opening.
Yeah. And Godoy's one of them because of his injuries.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's because of his injuries. Like, other than that, when he's 100% healthy, Godoy is probably the best center back on the team. Problem is you can't rely on somebody that's on the injury list all the time.
I mean, Godoy and Flo together would be immense, but I don't know how often we'd get to see it.
Yeah. And I think like the ideal back three, if everybody's healthy, is Ranko, Ljungwirth, and Godoy in that Jake Nowitzki right back / center back role where he can move forward a lot. And I think that would be a fantastic back three. Unfortunately, when you're missing a third of that back three all the time, it seems like it's not going to happen.
Well, that's one of the things that's been so shocking about Jake is he's not playing the right side of the back three. He's playing the left side.
That's a very good point
of the back three.
Very good point.
Which he's also played, obviously, more left back this year than I think he's ever played in his life, or definitely in his professional career. I'm interested to see what's going to happen with DC. Will he get
I've forgotten all about him.
Yeah, will he get bought? He's in the Canada squad again, I believe, right?
Yeah.
So will he get bought, or will he get his loan extended, or will he come back?
He's not going to want to come back, I don't think. Although under a new coach, you never know.
You never know.
Well, and the thing is, he's got it is an 18-month loan, so he's there for the full next year.
Yeah,
but he got an extended contract as well. So if they do want to buy him, they have that. Like, his contract's not going to expire after his loan.
Except for the Whitecaps could bring him back in January if they decided.
Yeah, they can terminate the loan. Sadly, we've had that a lot at East Fife in recent seasons. Guys come on loan, they do well, and then as soon as they do well, the parent club brings them back. We lost our big league leading striker that way last season.
Michael, you're not bitter, are you?
Just a tad.
I really think, actually, sorry to interrupt you, Michael. With going back to Flo, the way just he carries himself, I hope. I mean, the way it seems like he seems like a vocal guy, and he has potential on actually taking on the leadership role here on this team. The way
Yeah.
he is, and yeah, I could totally see that. That'd be awesome. I think.
I think though, once you've been in Europe and done well in Europe, I mean, his experience in Europe the last time wasn't great. So if he has a good experience this time, I think it's tough for these guys to then decide to come back. But like personally, and I know it's a small sample size, I would sign Flo up on a new deal and keep him here rest of his career. He's still
How old is
young.
he?
He's 32, 33, so he's still got a lot left in him. But there was a lot of chat on Twitter, and I mentioned this at the top of the show, folk comparing him to Andy O'Brien in the sense of what he brings organisationally, leadership-wise to that defence, vocally, and just how he carries himself. And it has felt a long time since we've had a guy that's been doing that at the back.
If you sign him, question is then, do you bring Andy Rose back? I can't see that. No.
I think Andy, I don't think was meant to play as much as he's played this season.
Yeah.
And if Godoy and Ranko had stayed healthy all season, I don't think we would have seen anywhere as much of Andy Rose. Although maybe we still would have, because Mark was very high on what he brought to the defence.
Yeah, for me, it's like if Youngworth does come back, I think probably two players that probably going to move on are Godoy and Rose. Rose, I think, like Youngworth is probably an upgraded version of Rose.
Yeah,
where he actually is a center back and he's got the MLS experience and he's veteran.
Right.
So I think he would be ideal as that position.
I don't see Rose moving on, but I kind of see him more transitioning mainly
No,
to
that's
coaching.
what I mean. I mean by moving on from the roster. Yeah.
Like give him a small contract, but he's mostly doing coaching and he's there as your emergency backup.
Yeah. How these decisions are made will be interesting too. How many of these players will those within the organization predetermine are not coming back, and how many will they say, "Hey, new coach, what do you think?" Or
well, that's the thing as well, because it's like a new coach might come in and say, "I don't want this guy," or the player might be like, "I don't want to play for this coach. I'd like to move on."
Yeah, like Martin Murney was told, "Hey, Eric and Davide, we're not going to be extending their contracts. You can replace them." So that's why he brought in Robson and Miller. Right?
Yeah, and Mark was told you're not getting Kai Kamara and Kendall, so
yeah, or almost anyone else, but yeah.
Or you show up with the New Jersey and post it on Twitter, Camilo. Or you do that?
But I mean, Flo's been great, and if we can get, as Steve says, a back three going into the business end of the season, hopefully going into the playoffs of Ranko, Godoy, and Florian, that is huge. And you need a couple of games for them to play together to get a bit of chemistry going as well. But yeah, I mean, we'll see how it goes. But we had our fun interview with Flo a couple of episodes ago. There was, of course, one burning question that we didn't find out about him. Does Florian Youngwort fancy a chocolate digestive?
Anyone fancy a chocolate digestive, even though it's unsuggested? Anyone fancy a chocolate digestive?
If you're sitting at home and you decide to have a hot beverage, what would be your hot beverage of choice? A tea, a coffee, something else?
It would be coffee, yeah.
Do you have a sweet tooth? Do you like biscuits, cakes with your coffee?
No, usually not. Just on cheat day. There's one dessert I love that's from Austria. It's called Kaiserschmarrn. That's the best in the world. But unfortunately, I haven't found any place in the US who serves that. But I'd love to have that to my coffee.
I have never heard of that. I will look into that. I've had some. I've had German sweet treats and like obviously Lebkuchen and stuff at Christmas time.
I love Lebkuchen. True. Then I take the Lebkuchen because they sell it here too, so it's good.
Yeah, you can definitely get that here.
Anyone fancy a chocolate digestive? Anyone fancy a chocolate digestive? Anyone fancy a chocolate digestive, even though it's unsuggested? Anyone fancy a chocolate digestive?
No chocolate digestive for Florian Youngwort there, but he doesn't mind a bit of Lebkuchen. I'm sure you do as well, Zach.
I had money on a possible, like, he enjoys the dog biscuits because he's such a dog lover.
Some
There's
of them are tasty.
I've heard that.
We've
I've
all made
never
that
had one.
mistake.
Yeah.
Really?
I've never had one myself, but I've heard from dog owners that they taste it to make sure they like it. That way they know the dog likes it.
Michael, did you dunk it first or?
Oh no, just dry. I only buy like treats that are human grade. So.
Cake is nice. Cake is not my favorite thing, that's for sure.
No, but that dessert that Flo mentioned there, I definitely need to check that out. I still haven't looked up to see where it is, so I don't know. But that's a defensive chat over. Let's move to the other end of the pitch, the attack. Let's talk about the big talking point. Brian White versus Lucas Cavallini. Which one has a future at the Whitecaps? Do they both have a future at the Whitecaps? Let me give you some stats. Brian White, 20 games as a Whitecap, 17 starts. 1,387 minutes played. 9 goals. 1 assist. That's a goal every 154 minutes, so about 2.5 games. His best ever season in MLS was in 2019, where he scored 9 goals and had 2 assists. So it's pretty much we're equaling the best season there. That was in 19 games. 17 of those were starts and 1,345 minutes. So very, very similar to what he achieved with New York Red Bulls in 2019. Consistent. That's what you want. Lucas Cavallini, over 2 seasons as a Whitecap. 9 goals, the same as Brian White. 1 assist, the same as Brian White. From 34 games played, 14 more. 29 of them starts, 12 more. And 2,588 minutes played. So you're looking at 1,200 minutes more. He has a goal every 287.5 minutes. Which for your high-priced designated player striker is not what you have him here to do. This season, 3 goals from 16 games, 13 of those starts. He hasn't scored in his last 5 games, Cava. He's got just 2 goals in his last 15. White is 5 now in his last 4 games, and he's scored in 6 of his last 10. Thoughts to unpack some of that, guys? Let's start with Steve.
I will bring up again, and this might be like my thing I keep bringing up, but how many games did that Lucas Cavallini play with Ryan Gauld, and how many games did Brian White play with Ryan Gauld, and when he scored those goals?
White has played more.
Yeah, so you have to like when you don't have somebody feeding the ball, like Cavallini probably thought he has to do so much in order to get the attack going, and that's why you always saw him in the midfield. Because he didn't feel like anybody was going to be in the midfield that could provide it, and he was providing a lot of assists, I believe, and part of some of those goals that were scored early in the season. So I do think that Cavallini is the better striker, but right now, I think Brian White is the striker that the Whitecaps need, and on their team, like he's the guy that can do he's not required to do fancy stuff all over the pitch. He just needs to be near the ball, near the net. He knows like essentially when he needs to be there, and basically it seems like he can read the trajectory of the ball when it comes into the box, and he knows where to be. And that's a very key, like we discussed before, it's a very key thing for strikers to have. Where Cavallini, I'm not sure if he has that, or he just hasn't displayed it because he's been doing other things this season.
Question for you, Naveed. Does Cavallini even fit in with the style of play that the Whitecaps are really wanting?
I don't know. What are the 4 cornerstones that Axel always refers back to? Or what were they again?
We should really remember by now, I guess.
Were they cornerstones or pillars? I keep
forgetting. They've been both. Maybe there's 8, and it's keeping it up.
Either way. Oh.
I don't know. Yeah. Like the thing with Cava, he is a good striker. Do not get me wrong. We've seen what he can do with Canada. I just feel the way that the Whitecaps play doesn't suit his style. And as Steve said, not having a number 10 obviously hurt him badly.
But I've said that before. Like and I think I mentioned it in a previous podcast too, multiple times. MDS, the way MDS described his style of play before, it wasn't a striker like that is not like Cavallini's type doesn't really fit in that style, where he's always got to be running around attacking. Cavallini, I think that's why he gets so many yellow cards too, because he's very aggressive in that style and he doesn't know how to handle himself. Like he's aggressive in attacking the ball or whatever, or attacking people with the ball, like putting pressure on them.
I mean, from a Whitecaps perspective, as a fan, I don't think we shouldn't be worried, because let's face it, I mean, I think it comes down to who the new coach is going to be anyways, and what he wants to do with his big ticket with the DP spot. But I don't think Brian White would go anywhere, because I think Toss is going to be out, to be honest.
Yeah, this is probably Toss's last season. I still feel we could have seen a lot more from Toss. I mean, I know he's still coming back from injury and stuff, but...
So I could see both playing at the same time potentially next year. Then you have Theo Bear, I guess, coming back.
Yeah, who's in a good vein of form. If he wants to come back, because again, someone that's going to Europe and doing well, it's like, I'm sure they're going to want to keep him if they get promoted, which is looking likely.
So if you have Toss gone and Theo not coming back, I mean, you can't have only two strikers. There has to be two more coming in. I guess.
White's salary just now, White's in an option year next year. And his salary just now is $216,000.
But I don't think Brian White is not a long-term solution. Like, he's in a great run of form right now, but he's not the long-term. He's more of a squad-type striker that you get off the bench, like that you can fill in. I think the guy you want to get is somebody. If you're not interested in Cavallini, I think you get somebody else. I don't think it's Cavallini versus White. I think it's Cavallini versus
exactly the big ticket. That's the question.
Well, right now it's Cavallini versus the goal, and it's not coming off good for him. I mean, Zach, the more this has gone on, it's starting to feel to me, and like this would be a great question to ask MDS when we eventually sit down and hopefully have a chat with him. Was Lucas Cavallini his choice to bring in, or was it kind of foisted upon him as the Canadian striker?
Yeah, that would be a good question for him to answer. I think as you look back on his time, though, or his time to date, I should say, it does feel like they overspent on him. It does feel like he hasn't really been worth his wages, at least in the context of MLS. It doesn't feel like he's been a fit, although Steve's caveat of he hasn't really had someone to feed him is partially valid. I think that you can look at all the numbers you want, but I don't think he is not just past the eye test, but when you watch him play, it doesn't feel like he is actually not working hard enough, but working in the right ways. And
he seldom looks happy in the pitch.
That's the thing. Yeah. I don't even think he's,
So yeah, Michael, what you said before about when your coach says, hey, you're really good at this thing, we want to do this.
Yes.
And then he doesn't do it. That's a big thing. The yellow cards in and of themselves is one thing, but I think the yellow cards are indicative of the fact that he's really poor at defending. And a lot of his cards are because he lunges in challenges when he should never be lunging in.
And I don't know, maybe in Uruguay and Mexico, he got away with that a lot more.
But no, that's where I'm saying that he's not really fit for this, because they want their strikers to apply pressure. And this guy is not probably used to defending, so he defends his own way, which is a reckless way.
But that's the thing in MLS.
Remember last year or 2 years ago, whatever it was, when Montero was trying to defend in the game against Colorado, when he was giving up like penalties and in both ways. It was like, you can't put a striker who doesn't want to defend in a defensive position.
The Colombian should never been in the box in those cases. But in MLS, like we've talked about this in different eras of Vancouver and MLS. You can't have passengers. Everyone has to defend with the frenetic, physical, athletic nature of the league.
Yes, that kind of
everyone
league.
Defending.
Which then brings me to the question again of, was Cava the right person to bring here? Because he doesn't strike me as the kind of guy that fits the system that MDS wanted. No. So if that's the case, why would MDS have wanted to bring him here and keep the system? Why would then he not tailor his system around Cava? Or was it the system that he wanted more than Cava? So it doesn't make sense in a lot of ways. But obviously, again, hindsight is a great thing. And when you put this out on on Twitter as I did, so many folk are wanting to see the back of Cava just now. That's obviously on the back of Brian White doing so well.
Yeah, I do want to say, I think Steve said this as well. I don't think it is a simple, do you want to
White
have
versus-
White versus Cava, because as good as White has been in his limited time in Vancouver, and you hope for him in the team that he pushes on and does even better in the rest of the season, and his time in Vancouver, White feels to me like the kind of player, if you're smart about it, and we've seen them not maybe fail at this in the past, is you get his value up as high as possible and then sell him onto an American team and get as much as you can for him. We used to talk about this with players like, for example, Jake, or in one sense, maybe Tim Parker. And so I think that's what they really need to do, and not see him as like, hey, he's going to be here for 5 or 10 years or 5 years or something.
Yeah, I think when I was saying Cava v White, it was more for the rest of this season, because if Cava moves on next year, which I think he should, for his sake, for the club's sake, for everyone's sake, really, I want another DP striker to come in, because I still don't think Brian White, right now, I ride him like a donkey at Blackpool for the rest of the season. And you just want to get the best out of him.
The thing is just going, if they do go for something next season, and then they go for 2 strikers up top, it's, for me, and I don't know why he's not been on the pitch lately, but Diver, he was on yesterday, and I thought he played decently, and I think him and an upgraded striker, I think that could be a good combination, or Dahomey up top with some other striker that kind of fits the system. So I think there is a lot of possibilities. I don't think they need 2 new strikers. I think just 1 more is good.
Again, depends what the coach wants to play, because if a new coach comes in and goes back to 1 up front, well, for one thing, it's going to be horrible for us again, because it's like, I'm enjoying having 2 up front.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think both Diber and Dajo can play in those wide. Like if it's a 4-2-3-1, they can play in those wide.
The front 3 are a very
fluid. Yeah.
That's the word of the moment. I want to just read this tweet that I got from Paul Freer, who said, "I never thought I'd say this, but Brian White is a better version of Lucas Cavallini than Lucas Cavallini."
He's doing the things that you want Lucas Cavallini to do. The problem is like you said before, does he want to do those things? And I think if Lucas Cavallini did what Brian White's trying to do, I think he would score more goals than Brian White at this point.
Yeah. Yes, there's that as well. Now, obviously, I said in last week's show, trade him to TFC, get Josie Altidore back. A lot of folk didn't like bringing Josie Altidore here, but taking that aside,
it could have something to do with that celebration.
Oh.
He looked so happy in that photo playing at BC Place. I mean, he clearly wanted to be here. But I had a couple of folk message me going, why would TFC want him? Why would they want to waste a DP spot on that? Which then
Osorio would want.
Yeah, him and Osorio could be together.
Or be trading for Osorio. Hey, we're sending you there. We're going to bring you back. No.
He could even go to Montreal, honestly. Montreal could use a striker like that too.
I just want to end this section though by asking, does Cavallini still have a good value? I believe that his market value is going to be dropping on Transfer Market when they do their next updates. Does he still... He may have hinted at that. Does he still have a value? In MLS, I don't know that he would have a lot of value out with maybe one of the Canadian teams. But the way that he has played for Canada, I think still has a good value if he wants to go back to Mexico or maybe even back to South America.
I think a lot of teams will look at Cavallini because he's had a decent run here and there with other leagues. And
he did well in Mexico before he came here.
Exactly. So I think a lot of people will draw to the fact that he was playing in Vancouver with a depleted side with a very little support. And they'll think that if they bring him in with their team, that he'll be able to get back to that form. The thing is I don't think he's going to have this. I don't think the Whitecaps are going to make money on him or anything like that. I think they're going to lose money when they sell him, but they definitely, I don't believe they'll lose that much. And I think they should unload him at this point because you still have that thing where people can use that as an excuse that he didn't have the support. If he comes back and with the support, he still doesn't score, then you got issues.
We could do with him banging a few goals in for Canada in the next few
Yeah.
qualifiers to
And the
to
thing
get
is
his value up a little bit.
And like you had mentioned before, he scored for Canada, and that's where there's a lot of talent on Canada at this point. So he can score with talent surrounding him.
Last thing for this part. We've talked about the attack, we've talked about the defence, we've talked about all the rotations and stuff. For me, I want to see a settled lineup as we hit this final stretch.
Good luck.
A lot of that depends on injuries. If we can say we're injury free, do you think Vanni will go with a settled lineup, or is he going to be the tinker man for a lot of the rest of this season?
I think there's potential in the lineup to tinker with, but I think for the majority of the lineup, I think if it's healthy, he'll go with the same. I think you'll see some matchup things where he can put a different player here and there to benefit. But I think for the most part, he would be settled with the same lineup.
Right now, could the four of us agree on the best starting 11 in a 3-4-1-2?
Okay. Well, I think goalkeeper, we're all max.
Yeah.
Back three for me, if everyone's fit, would be Ranko, Godoy, and Flo.
Yes.
Sure.
We agree with that. Let's miss the midfield for now, because I think that's the bit that we might have the most contentious with.
Gold is the number 10.
Gold's the 10.
Are you sure about that?
I don't know. I wouldn't mind maybe seeing him as a wing back, just because he hasn't tried that yet. Up front, if both fit, and despite everything I've just said, Cava and White.
Yes.
But then where do you put Caicedo?
Yeah.
That's
this is the problem.
I'm with Michael on that, though. I would go with White. I mean, you have to put at this point. If you put White out, I mean, he's the most informed player.
So then super sub Caicedo.
Yeah.
The home is on the left or the right of you that midfield.
Well, yeah,
And
but then
then
Caicedo might start ahead of Dahomey at times, just because Dahomey's up and down. No.
You
no, I
got
think
Brown
that's
playing on the right, I think.
No, I think you got, if everybody's healthy, you got Dahomey on the right and Gutierrez on the left.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
Gutierrez.
right,
yeah.
Gutierrez, right.
And then you got your other two midfielders are a combination. This is where you can
This is the
tinker here and
tricky
there.
bit, yeah.
Yeah, you could do Tybert, Owusu, and Bikel. One of those like combinations.
Because Owusu's coming onto his game.
What?
It's
Well,
Mikel and Owusu.
Oh, I know, but I'm just saying you can put Tybert in certain situations where you need a little bit of a different type player.
Who did
It
you
all
say,
depends.
Zach and Owusu?
It's Bikel and Owusu.
I think Tybert's played decently here and there. I think he can be beneficial in some games. Like he can be like basically a thorn in the other opposite side defensively, where he irritates the hell out of him. And I don't see Owusu and Bikel doing that. So I think it depends on who they're lined up against.
Interesting.
You got to let him tinker a little bit.
So amongst us, we're not that far off.
Yeah.
No.
The
Okay.
midfield's the toughest bit. And then depending what you do with the midfield, depending what you do with your front two as well.
No, I think I forgot about Gutierrez. If Gutierrez,
Yeah.
is there, then
He's
I think
playing
it's
on the
easy.
left.
Gutierrez
Yeah.
on the left and Dajo on the right, and I think that's
Assuming
I
Guti comes
Caicedo
back
is
in
your-
that form. But then you've also got Javane Brown, who's been in great form as well.
Yeah, but he's your sub to come in on
Yeah.
the other side, and Caicedo's your speedy guy to come on.
Yeah.
Well,
later.
if everybody's healthy, don't forget that we got Kyle, but he's definitely not going to be healthy by.
Oh,
the
yeah.
end
Oh,
of the
yeah.
season.
Yeah.
But he would be a good.
Hey, don't
person.
forget Pedro. He might appear at some point.
Yeah, if Caio was available, then maybe I would probably go Bickle and Caio.
What happened to
Right
Baldy?
now, I would
Baldy
go
hasn't been
Owusu
playing,
and
huh?
Caillou.
Has Baldy been playing lately?
He's not. For me, I know folk are wanting the young Canadians to play. Baldy has had some good games. He's had some bad games. Metcalf's had a couple of decent performances, a couple of bad performances. They're not starters for me right now in this team. And you've got to go with the guys that can get you over the line. And I don't think those two guys can. Like Baldy, when he can come on, if he can show some magic, it's great. Bring him on and for 15, 20 minutes at the end.
Was he injured again? Like, is he fully recovered from that heel issue, Michael?
He was he didn't have a good game against Houston. But he was playing as a centre back.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
He should not be playing as a centre back.
And not even playing as the wide center back, the middle center back, which is odd.
Wait,
That's not
he
an
played on the
experiment I
wide
wanna
center back?
see.
Well, they put him there though because he's been all season when he's been playing. He's been dropping deep between the center backs to be the playmaker out of the back.
Yeah.
It made some sense, but yeah, it was kind of weird.
Still,
I mean, let's be honest, this is a nice problem to have. And it's a problem I think 2 months ago we didn't think would be, oh, we've got this wealth of talent. Which ones can we afford to drop to try and get us into the playoffs? It wasn't looking good 2 months ago, so...
Well, you also didn't think
that's a
White would
positive.
have 3 times the goal of Cava, right? Which
No.
makes part of the
I did have
support.
Dahomey and Cava both get into double figures at the start of the season.
Good luck
let's,
with that.
Let's just change that for White and Dahomey. But anyway, that is it for our Whitecaps chat. We're going to be turning our attention to the international scene next for the final part. Canada's back at it in World Cup qualifiers. The quest for Qatar gets even closer. We'll be back chatting about that after this.
Hi, I'm Maxime Crepeau from the Vancouver Whitecaps, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Is your muffin buttered? Would you like us to assign someone to butter your muffin? Excuse me. What? Excuse me. What? Hey, you over there on the chaise longue in your underwear. What are you doing sitting down? You should be horizontal now. On the chaise longue, on the chaise longue, on the chaise longue, all day long. On the chaise longue, on the chaise longue, on the chaise longue, on the chaise longue, all day long. On the chaise longue. Is your mother worried? Would you like us to assign someone to worry your mother? Excuse me. What? Excuse me. What? Hey, you in the front row, are you coming backstage after the show? Because I've got a chaise longue in my dressing room and a pack of warm beer that we can consume. On the chaise longue, on the chaise longue, on the chaise longue, all day long. On the chaise longue, on the chaise longue, on the chaise longue, on the chaise longue, all day long. On the chaise longue.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part from the Isle of Wight. Not White, but it's, imagine Brian White being on an island all on his own. That's what strikers usually are in Vancouver. Not at the moment. Anyway, I digress. From the Isle of Wight, a two-piece band, Wet Leg, and that is their new single, Chaise Longue. They've been getting a lot of airplay and attention over in the UK. Great band. If you've got a couple of songs out just now, check them out. Let me know what you think about them. I like my female bands. We've had a couple of them on the show this year. But let's get back to the football chat now. We're going to turn our attention to the international scene. Canada's back at it with 3 massive games coming up in World Cup qualifying. Mexico away, Jamaica away. They're going there of their own accord, although I'm sure they'd rather be playing at home. And Panama at home. 3 games in a 10-day period. John Herdman has named a 27-man squad for this one. But there are a few injury concerns. Kyle Larn, Atiba Hutchinson, Milan Borjan, Lucas Cavallini, all guys going into these games, nursing injuries. Herdman says that there's a plan to manage those injuries in the camp. He's hopeful though, or there's a chance, he says, that the first 3 at least may see some time during this 10-day window. But it's some big games coming up. It starts off in Mexico. Now, obviously, Canada played Mexico in the Gold Cup. It was a close one there, Zach, but it was a very different Mexican team. You're going into a hostile Azteca as well. Fans there. It's an exciting group of games coming up. I don't know what you take from the Mexico game, if you can get something from this one, but Jamaica away feels winnable. Panama at home feels like a must win.
Must, yeah. It was good that Max got that game that match in the Gold Cup against Mexico, because I
think he might be needed.
Yeah, because Borjan didn't play in Europe for Belgrade's win last week, and I've heard that it's not looking good, and that Max will be starting against Mexico. So for him, I hope he does, and I hope it goes well.
going into the game in superb form in the back of 3 clean sheets. So, I mean, he
Totally.
couldn't be in much better form.
Totally. So yeah, it's and we already talked about this, but Mexico got out of this being in an empty stadium, right?
Yes, they only had to do the 1 game thing, so they're going to be cramming the fans in. There'll be bags of piss and who knows what going at John
Batteries
Hedman's
and
head.
coins and yeah.
Hedman joked on his call when he announced the roster of that game against Mexico at the Gold Cup. He said, every 10 minutes there was bottles of stuff flying over my head.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting for Canada in that if they can go in there and get something, like they can go and get a draw, that would just be superb.
And Mexico's not been blowing everyone away so far starting this off. There's that too.
Yeah, so I think I wouldn't say they're ripe for the picking, but I think that there's an opportunity here for Canada, and I think a draw would be so respectable and such a great step. And we've seen teams. I think Montreal has gone into Azteca at club level and got a draw and got a result. So obviously this is different, but that was an encouraging sign. So yeah, the Jamaica game. Jamaica is not in a good way right now, and Canada needs to win. That's an away game that Canada really needs to lay down a marker and show that they can win on the road with this group of players in CONCACAF at this high level of competition with all that's on the line. And then you're right, Panama's been doing really well, but Canada has to beat them at home. There can be no excuses, but like Canada just has to win that game. And so I think if they can come out of this with 7 points, I think that will be encouraging, and that will hopefully keep them in the top 3.
Yeah, I mean, Steve, we talked about this with the Whitecaps. With their next 3 games coming up, 6 points from this would be fantastic for Canada. Do you see it being likely? Could they get more?
Well, I think that ideally it would be 7 would be the ideal number of points they can get out of it. 6, I think, is doable. And I think the point total, if to be disappointed with, would be like 4. Like if they get 4 points, actually, I'd be disappointed. Anything 4 or less.
So little room for error. That's the thing.
Yeah, and the thing is, again, we talked about it with the Whitecaps. It all depends on what's going on around you too, because who would have known that so many points were dropped in the other games as well?
Yeah.
So,
right now Canada's sitting second on 5 points.
Yeah, that's a very low point total. I would have thought to be second place at that time. So I think there is opportunity to move up, but again, like the U.S. this time might have a good form in their 3 games.
Yeah, because they play Jamaica on Thursday, and then they're away to Panama on Sunday, and then they're at home to Costa Rica. So
I didn't realize that they do have the one easy game, but the other 2 games are pretty tough there.
I would not be surprised if Panama come away with a win in that.
Yeah,
it's in Panama. It's US has been up and down. Who knows who might break protocols and get kicked out of the squad?
And it might be beneficial.
Look up your sisters.
Yeah. It might be beneficial that Panama does have that game for Canada as well, playing the U.S. in the middle in the second game and then having to travel up to Canada. So that might actually, I think 6 points is definitely doable. And I think I'd be okay with that. I'd love to see 7, but 6 points would definitely be doable.
I mean, the thing is, Naveed, that Panama game, it has to be a must-win. You're looking at the table just now, you're both on 5 points. Panama are away to El Salvador, which isn't easy, but the way that Panama are doing just now, I'd expect them to get at least a point there. That home game against the US, if they can beat the US, they're going to come into Toronto full of confidence and feel that they can get something from this one. And I would think they'll play a bit defensive, a bit heavy-handed, and that could be an interesting one for Canada.
Yeah, the one game, I mean, I'm kind of worried about, and I think most of us feel actually comfortable about that we're going to get 3 points. It's just a Jamaica game for some odd reason. I mean, everyone would expect us to get 3 points in Jamaica, I think, but the environment you go in there, I don't know. It's
well, they've been up and down as well, because I mean, they've only got 1 point from their 3 games. They haven't been playing terribly though. That's the thing,
right? And I don't know. They're playing Kingston. I think the whole environment over there it's a tough one over there. And I think from a player's perspective, Mexico, they're going to be up for it. They're going to love it playing, I mean, at Azteca and with all the crowd.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised really if they get the point, even if you consider Mexico is not like high flying right now and like top notch. So I could see them getting a point in Mexico. Jamaica that's a question mark to me. Panama, you have to, I think, home game. They all know they have to go.
The thing is about Jamaica though is their one home game they lost 3-0 to Panama. So
in Jamaica,
Jamaica.
But then they went to the Azteca, although that was the closed doors game, and it was 2-1.
2-1
just lost.
Yeah, just lost, but they didn't play apparently that well. I remember hearing that Mexico should have won that game very easily.
They should. And then they drew with Costa Rica, which off the top of my head, I'm sure they were leading in.
Yeah, and
oh no,
so
they came from behind in that.
But the thing is of their own accord. But that's the game that I think shows that Jamaica might have something. But you're right. It all depends on how because they are playing. They were going to be in the U.S. and if they're worn down from that game, then it does affect them coming back home.
The other interesting thing about this round of games is it's different than the last one in that the game, the way it's set up last time, it was almost an easier decisions, I think, for the Herdman and the coaches, because it was your difficult game was in the middle. So it was easy to try and go all in the first game, maybe rest players in the second game, and then go all in again in the third game because you had to win that. And this time it's the game, that was the US last time in the middle game. This time the Mexico game's first as opposed to in the middle. If this Mexico game was in the middle, I think you would see the strongest possible lineup against Jamaica, a little, a 1B against Mexico, and then a full lineup again for Panama at home. So that's, I think, going to be interesting to see how Herdman chooses to traverse that. With
are they still doing the 3 subs or is it 5 subs? I can't recall.
It's got to be 5 because they started with 5.
Yeah,
five.
Yeah.
So he's got to use the full 5 subs.
Can someone get FIFA, people over at EA to update FIFA to have 5 subs?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was wondering too.
Squad. He's named a 27-man squad for this because of the injuries. He's going to have to use these subs, especially in that Mexican game. Because you want, like, the 2 games after that are the ones you want to keep the guys fresh from. It does look, though, that Max Crepeau is going to start in goal for Canada, at least in the Mexico game. Would not be surprised if he starts in goal for all 3 of these games. Got a chance to ask him a couple of questions about Canada after the Whitecaps game with San Jose on Saturday. Here's what he had to tell me.
Hey Max, obviously you're missing the game next Saturday and it's a big game. You want to be away with Canada. What's your emotions like? Is there part of you wishes obviously that you were still staying here, part of you wishes that are glad that you're going away with Canada? What's your emotions going to be like next weekend?
I'm going to the national team. We're in the last phase of qualification. It's 2 different things, and it's a greater cause. It's to put the country to Qatar, which would be, let's say, it's phenomenal, and it's our goal, and we know it's achievable. So it's like a greater cause, to be honest. And I totally trust them. I totally trust Evan. They can do the same job. They are great goalkeepers. We're a team in a team, and I said that over the years. I trust them. We work so well, and I see them training. They're ready. They can play. They have no problem. So to be fair, the team is in a great mind space, and we need to carry that on in Seattle. Last time we went there, we did a 2-2. So a tie would be good. A win would be great. That's the mindset.
Running our attention then to the national team. I don't know if we'll get a chance to speak to you over the next little bit when you're away there. The games coming up, 2 massive away games, obviously, against Mexico and Jamaica, and then a game that John described this week as must-win against Panama. What are you expecting from these games? It's obviously going to be tough, but if you can get points from this, it's going to set you up nicely for what's still to come.
Yeah, these games, everything's on the line. There's no tomorrow in these games. After that, you're like, oof. You watch the standings and you need to get points every single game. To be honest, the objective is after the next 3 games and after each window, we're in the top 3. That's the mindset. And so going into Mexico and Jamaica and then coming back to Toronto against Panama, our mindset is to get 9 points. That is the mindset. Of course, 7 will be great, but that is the mindset. I speak for all the guys that are there. We want to win all games, and we know it's achievable. Is it hard? Yes, but that's our head is right there. We want to win every game, and we know it's going to be difficult traveling, going into hostile places. We know the reality, but we know we can do the job.
Thanks so much, Max. Good luck, safe travels, and we'll see when you get back. Hopefully with 9 points.
Hopefully, we're going to work hard on this.
So Maxime Crepeau there just chatting about the games coming up, and he's just going to wish he was playing in Seattle, but obviously he said if it's for the greater good, Canada trying to get this country to the World Cup, it would be just magnificent if they could. The next round of qualifiers that were announced, we'll just quickly mention as well, Zach, both games going to be in Edmonton with technically available to get a full capacity 60,000 at Commonwealth Stadium. You're going to that one. Good luck with the COVID.
I please hold my seats on the AFTN plane to Qatar, but for now I'm booked on some dodgy airline going to Edmonton.
Well, you're only going to be on that AFTN one once you've served the quarantine coming back from Edmonton, because
There's enough time. There's still time.
Do not think they will be allowing a full capacity. I mean, the CSA saying it's full capacity for that one. With the way the numbers are heading in Edmonton, that's insane to me.
No, don't worry about it. They're airlifting all the COVID people out of there, so it should be COVID free by then.
Do you even think 60,000 people fans?
I don't even think they would sell 60,000. But it's Fonzie's homecoming, so there's that.
That Fonzie coming home, I think you
can.
Yeah, but who knows? It's also November in Edmonton, and I've seen Edmonton in May that I didn't.
Yes,
I've seen Edmonton in August where it wasn't that great. It was like snowing in August one time I was there.
Well, that was something I was going to ask you guys, because it's like everyone's saying, "Oh, it's great because it's going to freeze Costa Rica and Mexico out of this." Our guys aren't used to playing in these conditions. They're pampered professional footballers. I think it can backfire on you. That said, I'm glad they're moving it around the country, and if it is going to give us any advantage at all, go for it.
Michael, again, I don't want to have this same conversation about where they should play and stuff.
Yeah, let's not have a pissing local match again and stuff.
Let's trust John Herdman, his staff, and the players that this is what they want to do and what they think will help them best to qualify.
As long as they don't start playing "He's coming home, he's coming home, Fonzie's coming home," because that hasn't worked very well for the English, which probably means Fonzie would get injured and not make it to these games. But I don't want to jinx him. Good luck to Canada. We probably won't do a midweek show, but we'll chat about the games, the first 2 games on next weekend's show. That is it for the Canada chat, but it's not it for this episode of the AFTN Soccer Show, because it's still time for Wavelength. Football Violence Awareness Month is over, but I thought I might try and come up with a theme for our Wavelength songs for this month. So I'm going for the theme about giving football back to the fans and making it come home and getting rid of the big money men and everything like that. So I've gone for a song from a London oi band called Super Yob. And this is a song that's got lyrics that it's all about a football club being the heart and soul of a community. That football is for the fans. Give us our game back. This is Super Yob with Sweet F.A.
Passion, pride, and local fame. Now TV and money and plenty of bosses, and the punters count their losses. Not one local face on their team. And the cost to the fans getting wicked. Second mortgage for a bleeding ticket. The club you loved as man and boy is now just a rich
super job there with Sweet Effie. Give the fans the game back. Slash wages. Cap wages. Slash prices. That's how you get fans back. Anyway, that is it for this week's show. Just before we go, anything you learned this week, Steve? Any final thoughts? Where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at WhiteCapSpeed. And what I learned this week was, according to Zach, Sartini keeps his job if he gets a semi in the playoffs.
Hey, if we get to the playoffs, I'm sure there'll be a few semis going around. Naveed, anything you learned this week? Where can folk find you online? Any final thoughts?
Well, people can find me on Twitter at nmashinshi. Didn't learn anything particular this week, but I found out today that UBC lost 5-1 against UFP.
Yes.
And that totally drove me nuts, to be honest.
I'm commentating on next weekend's games on my own as well. So
not sure what happened there. Really curious what's going on.
What do you mean on your own? I thought you said I could come and hang out.
No, not next week.
Oh,
it's
that's
not
the week
Trinity
after.
Western next week.
Oh, it's the
It's
week after.
UBC Okanagan. Oh, you can cover the Trinity Western games.
Yeah, okay. Well,
Especially
maybe I'll
the women's one's top of the table clash, so that's meaty. Or
Yeah, just to clarify, the men's team lost 5-1.
Yes, the women's team, yeah.
But yeah, disappointing, that's for sure.
Zach, what have you learned? You're a learned man.
You can find me on Twitter at ZacharyAm, and I learned that tonight's pack was another with no doubles in it, and I took one step closer to completing the series.
Wow.
Let me know if you don't have, when you go through your stuff. Let me know. I got those 7 doubles.
I need to get my sheath sorted and stick things in it, and we'll see what we do.
I actually want to know, sorry, Mike, to interrupt. I actually want to know what Zach thinks about the Arsene Wenger idea of 2 years World Cups every 2 years instead of the 4.
Yes,
Because that's what I learned
we were
last
going to
year.
be talking about that, and then you went on the show, and then I've kind of moved on. Let's talk about that next week.
Why would we talk about such an asinine subject?
Well, I think we've got his answer.
Yeah, spoilers, Zach. Spoilers.
I'm Michael McCall. You can find me on Twitter at AFTN Canada. Read all our stuff away from the numbers, aftn.ca. Give us a follow, subscribe, turn on notifications on YouTube, youtube.com/AFTN Canada. What I sadly learned this week is you can close a football stadium in the Czech Republic and try and have a feel-good factor of filling it with 10,000 school kids because of racist incidents in the past. And what happens? They boo the black players throughout the whole game.
Oh, Glenn Kamara, poor guy.
That's just...
I feel bad. That was awful.
It's so sad. And actually, I didn't want to end on a downer, but I don't know if anyone saw MLS Next sent... I retweeted it today. They sent a tweet out earlier today.
I saw that.
There'd been incidents of racist and discriminatory language used at some MLS Next games. This is youth football. It's like, it's so sad. I don't know. I'll try and finish on something upbeat now after that. Brian's on fire. Your defense is terrified. Oh, Brian's on fire. Oh, na 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 na. Take care, everyone. We'll be back soon. On the Caps.
Going to your first match is an experience you never forget. The atmosphere of what's going on around the pitch looks beautiful, and you always look and go, wow, I'd love to play here one day. If you get the bug, it's going to stay with you for life.
More than a name, that's what we
AFTN.